So today, we are now going to look at part 2 of the 10 stages of the soul. Now, 2 years ago, we did two masterclasses on the 10 stages of the soul, where I introduced each stage with a certain amount of detail. But today, in this series, we're going to go in greater depth. And in last class, which was part 1 of the series, we focused on the parable of light. We focused intensely on that. The whole class was about the parable of light because it describes the light we are seeking in our spiritual journey. And it offers invaluable clues for us to follow. And this was a good foundation class that distinguished the soul from the physical form and also showed the connection between the two, because the parable of light talks about the light but also engages in the interpretation I shared with you, the body and the soul. So we've had a good foundation to start with from there. And so I'll start today by summarizing the 10 stages of the soul. And then we will focus on stage 1 in particular. And when we think about the 10 stages, the way I wrote it was through a metaphorical journey, which I actually was seeing and experiencing and recording. And it starts off where I'm walking down an old Arabian street. This cobblestone street, old buildings, and I come to the facade of a building that has a door, a very old door, and there's cobwebs on the door signifying the fact that no one has been through that door in a long time. Something compels me to push the door open. And when I push the door open, I can see inside a few steps, and then there's just darkness. My first impulse is to turn around and run, but something just pushes me, and I step into the building, and I get to the first step of the staircase. And at this step, I can hear from the 2 walls on my sides the sound of a marketplace. Thousands of events, people laughing, animals, noise, complete chaos. And I can hear it coming to me from the sides of the walls. I can't see anything, it's all hearing. And I thought to myself, what place is this? What's going on? Who are these people? Where is this market? And then I take one step up, and the sound of the marketplace stops. I take one more step, there's no sound. And then on the 3rd step, I reach the 2nd level, where now I hear from the sides of the walls the sound of a dripping tap. There's water dripping with consistency in a bucket. And it's very, very precise and regular intervals. And I was trying to visualize the bucket. Obviously, I tried to visualize it, and obviously there's a pail with water and drops falling in, but I couldn't see it. But the frequency, the repetition, the sound was perfect. Then I climbed 3 steps up further, so now I don't hear the dripping tap, but now I hear the sounds of a grandfather clock. It's as if I'm inside this grandfather clock, and it is ticking away with steady precision. And I'm thinking, where is this clock? Where am I? What's going on? I look ahead of me and I see this staircase. And the scientist in me obviously says, let's count the number of steps. And there are 66 steps. And that's as far as I can see, and then there's just darkness. I turn around, and there's a wall of darkness behind me, so there's no way out for me except to keep going up. Then I climb 3 more steps, and I come to the 4th stage. And there I hear the sounds of children playing in the playground, full of innocence, full of life, laughter, happiness. Almost hearing them made me feel extremely happy and feel their innocence, And then I climbed 3 more steps. And now I hear the sounds of a waterfall. This water is falling with great energy, and I am right in the center of this waterfall. Huge amount of power. I think, where is this? Where am I? I can feel the energy of the waterfall, but I have no clue what's going on. I climb 3 more steps. And now I reach the 6th stage where I hear the soothing voice of monks chanting in a temple. Beautiful, gentle, soothing voice. And again, very peaceful, very nice, very tranquil. I'm sure you've all been to temples and places where you've heard this type of chanting of a spiritual nature, and it's really nice, really heart-filling. Then I climb 3 more steps, and I reach the 7th stage. The 7th stage, I hear the sounds of water ending its journey on the beach. There is rustling of palm trees in the breeze. I can imagine just the most beautiful, beautiful setting. I can hear all the sounds of that pure peace and tranquility, calmness, peace. Then I look up and I climb the number of steps, and there's still 66. I see there's 66 before me. It doesn't matter how much I've been climbing. There's always 66 steps. Then I decide to climb the next 3 steps, and that places me at the 8th stage. And at the 8th stage, I hear this beautiful orchestra, perfect music. Every instrument is in complete harmony, pure harmony. I've never heard music like this on the earth. It's of a divine nature. And again, only sounds, no sights, no vision. I climb 3 more steps, but now the orchestra doesn't stop. The orchestra is still playing. So when I reach the 9th stage, I hear the sounds of water, but it's a subtle background energy sound, as if I am at the bottom of the sea. So there's the orchestra in the background, and I hear the sounds and the energies, and I feel the energies of the bottom of a deep ocean. And then I climb 3 more steps, and I still hear the orchestra. I hear the sounds of the water deep down, and now I hear dolphins, beautiful singing of dolphins. And I'm saying to myself, where have I come? What's going on? Where am I? And when I look ahead of me, now at the end of the 66 steps, there is a door which is slightly open, and behind the door is a light. And if you imagine a dark staircase, and you open a door, and there's light behind the door, that light would fill up the staircase. This light didn't. It was just behind the door. And then I heard this very powerful voice within me. In the book, I call it the voice of thunder, but it was like this really powerful inner voice. And the voice says, you have reached the 10th stage of your journey. Now we want you to describe each stage. Tell us what you know about each stage. And I'm getting worried because I don't know. And I'm saying, oh, voice of thunder, I don't know. And I'm asked the same question again. You do know, otherwise you couldn't be here. And I said, forgive me, but I don't know. And then the 3rd time when I'm asked, all of a sudden it was as if someone lifted a veil before my eyes. And now I knew all about the 10 stages. It was like one moment I didn't, another moment I did. And I said, when I entered this building and I reached the 1st stage, it was the stage of the marketplace. And this is the world I have come from, my material world, where thousands of events, people, noise, chaos, time, change, everything occurs. So the marketplace is the world I have come from. And the voice says, yes, you're right. What happens at the 2nd stage? I said, well, when I reach the 2nd stage and I hear the water dripping from the tap into the bucket, it is like I have gone from thousands of events of the marketplace down to one singular event, which is the dripping tap. So all my focus has narrowed down to one event, to one thing. And the voice says, why water? And I said, because water is the essence of life. And so my focus has narrowed down to the essence of life itself. I said, yes, you're right. What happens in the 3rd stage? I said, in the 3rd stage is the grandfather clock. still ticking the same way as the water was dripping. So my focus is down to one singular event. But at the second stage, you can see the water that is dripping. In the third stage, in the grandfather clock, you cannot see the time it represents. So in the third stage, I have gone from the seen to the unseen. And the voice says, that is correct. You have now transformed to the level of the unseen. Tell us about the fourth stage. I said, having transformed from the seen to the unseen, my soul has taken on a new phase in its journey. It's almost like a new birth. And that is signified by the children playing in the playground, the pure innocence, the happiness. That is my soul in its next phase of transformation, in its new birth. Not exact birth, but like a birth. And the soul said, yes, the fourth stage is very, very important. What happens to you after? I said, in the fifth stage, I'm under this huge waterfall. In the second stage, there was just droplets of water, of the essence of life. And now I'm under a huge waterfall, so I'm under an abundance of the essence of life. And when water flows and falls through a waterfall, it becomes very pure. So I'm in an abundance of the purity of essence of life. And then I move up to the sixth stage, and that is where I hear the monks chanting. My body is the temple. The monks are my inner voice, my higher voice. And this is the first time I am hearing my higher voice. So in the sixth stage is the first time I'm engaging with the voice of my higher self. And then I reach the seventh stage, the beach, the palm trees rustling. That is the stage of paradise. And I've reached that stage of paradise where it's so peaceful that I almost feel I should rest here forever and not move forward. And the voice said, many souls have reached paradise, many, but very few have crossed the 8th, 9th, and 10th stage. So tell us about that. So I said, when I reached the 8th stage of the orchestra, I'm at the stage of zero conflict, pure harmony. Every instrument is in complete harmony with each other. So I'm at a level of zero conflict. And as a human, I cannot even imagine what being at a level of zero conflict means. But standing here at the 8th stage, I understand it. It's pure harmony. And then I move to the 9th stage now. In the 9th stage, the orchestra is still playing, but now I'm at the bottom of the ocean. So in the 2nd stage, I started with the droplets of water. In the 5th stage, I was in the waterfall, in an abundance of purity and essence of life. And now in the 9th stage, I have become the ocean itself. So I have no more physical form. My physical form is gone. I am now totality. The ocean is totality. And at the 10th stage, when I hear the dolphins, they are the monks of totality. They are the monks of the ocean. So when I was at the 6th stage, I could hear the monks chanting in the temple because I had a body. In the 10th stage, I am deep in the ocean. I am the ocean. And so now I'm hearing the chanting of the monks of totality, which is the sound of the dolphins. It's symbolic. So I'm told, tell us, why is it that from 1 to 7, the stages are distinct, and yet 8, 9, and 10, they seem to fuse together because the sound of the orchestra continues into the ocean, and then the sound of the dolphins, they're all together. And I said, when I reached the level of paradise, I was like the river. I could see the ocean in front of me. But I was so much at peace in paradise. And then I chose, and I was pushed, and I was blessed to move forward. So I, the river, reached the 8th stage. 8, 9, and 10 is me, the river, merging into the ocean. And as I merge into the ocean, I am still the river, and I am now the ocean. So the two are no longer distinct. We are merging into one. And that is why 8, 9, and 10 is the river becoming one with the ocean, until at the end of 10 now there's no river. We are the ocean. And so the voice says, you may now climb these steps and come. So I climb the 66 steps, I reach the door. Behind the door is a light. I step in, and the last words I hear are, you are no longer you. That is your fulfillment. And what lies beyond that door is something each one of us needs to strive for in our journey to reach and achieve. Because no words, no vocabulary, no description is going to make any sense at all. It is something to be experienced. But it is something we should all strive for. So that was the general encapsulation of my journey up. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, which was written thousands of years ago, it describes what lies beyond that door, past the 10th stage, very succinctly. Shri Krishna says to Arjuna in the battle, and it's in chapter 15, he says, I shall impart to you once again the supreme wisdom, the best of all wisdoms, acquiring which all sages have attained the highest perfection, being liberated from this world. Shri Krishna says, they who have taken refuge in this wisdom have attained unity with me, have attained unity with me. They are neither born at the time of creation, nor are they afflicted at the time of dissolution. So beyond the door of light, past the 10th stage, lies unity with the Creator, completion, and no further birth or death. These words of Sri Krishna echo similar words to what I heard, which was, you are no longer you. That is your fulfillment. Now, as we learn about each of these 10 stages, I've given you a very brief run through, but then we're going to have one class per stage. But as we learn more about each of the 10 stages, you will begin to resonate with a particular stage or stages, which may help awaken you to the level you have attained as a soul. So even after each class, reflect carefully on the elements we discuss and experience the energy they project to you of each of these levels, and you will get to know yourself deeper and deeper through this process. Note that Sri Krishna talks about being afflicted at the time of dissolution. What is this dissolution? I believe it occurs at the first stage in the marketplace. And the stage of the marketplace is basically, as I said earlier, the material world as we know it, governed by time, space, and change. In the marketplace, the past, the present, and the future all exist together as one, making it challenging and obscure, as some people dwell in the past, some in the future, and some in the present. And the marketplace, which is our world, has all types of people and creation living in nature, drawing upon all its resources, and driving endless events every moment. It is the place where power of thought drives everything in this marketplace. Remember, like I've said to you previously, the sum total of each person's thoughts is his or her consciousness. The sum total of each person's thoughts is his or her consciousness. So the marketplace is the home to the collective consciousness of all beings. And this is what we know as mass consciousness. Now, each one of us is identified by the quality of our thoughts. And hence the quality of the marketplace is governed by the quality of the mass consciousness. Now, how can we understand the quality of the mass consciousness of our world, our marketplace? Because we need to understand this, learn from it, so that we can grow and rise. And it all depends on the characteristics that are associated with each soul in its human form. Now, the Bhagavad Gita again offers a very helpful insight through which we can understand the makeup of the consciousness in our world. And I will share you some very brief points where Sri Krishna says there are 3 types of qualities that are attached to the soul. 3 types. These being sattva, rajas, and tamas, 3 different classes. Sattva being pure, luminous, and free of sickness. And here sickness is the deeper meaning that goes all the way to the soul. He says sattva binds the soul through attachment of happiness and attachment of knowledge. These are the highest attachments. Therefore, sattva is a quality of souls that have gone higher in their journey up the 10 stages. Now, note the use of the word knowledge in Sri Krishna's word, because that's the key. The second type of quality attached to the soul in the Gita is the rajas. Sri Krishna says rajas are born of passion and attachment and thirst for enjoyment. Passion, attachment, and thirst for enjoyment. Raja binds the soul through attachment with action and the fruits of action. So everything it does, it wants the fruits and it wants to enjoy that. And we see that. Hence, Raja is a deeply selfish state. It is many levels below sattva and yet makes up a large number of souls in our marketplace. So it's good for us to recognize these characteristics. Then of the third type of attachment to the soul, Sri Krishna says there are the tamas, born of ignorance, which is the deluder of all embodied beings. It binds the soul through negligence, sloth, and sleep. So tamas are of the lowest level, and we see a lot of this characteristic in our world today too. And Sri Krishna summarizes the 3 characteristics by saying, sattva attaches one to happiness, rajas to action, and tamas to clouds of discrimination and creation of negligence. Now, I'm sharing these aspects with you today because, like I said earlier, they all exist in our marketplace and hence make up the consciousness of our marketplace. How can we identify these 3 characteristics in ourselves and in those that we encounter? Because that is part of the experience we are going to get in this marketplace. And Sri Krishna says, when the light of wisdom streams through every gate of the body, know that sattva is dominating. Light of wisdom. When rajas dominate, greed, activity, and undertaking of selfish actions arise. And with the increase of tamas, there prevails darkness, inactivity, negligence, and delusion. Now, my dear friends, we know all these 3 characteristics because we embody some of them or all of them if we are truly honest with ourselves. And when we look deep within ourselves, we can see how many of these aspects are present. It is something worth reflecting on because it offers keys to self-refinement. And the good news is that life in the marketplace offers us the best chance of knowing ourselves and refining our characteristics. You can't climb from stage 1 higher up unless you're able to refine your characteristics. By shedding the tamas, ascending beyond the rajas to reach the state of sattva. And think of these 3 as symbolic states, but they are objectives, basically. Now, self-refinement is a constant and conscious process, achievable by all of us, especially when we know what we are looking for, and that's why I'm sharing these with you. We can all harness the marketplace to help us rise to these higher stages by shaking away the raja and tama aspects attached to our beings. Furthermore, beyond ourselves, it also helps to identify the presence of these 3 aspects through our interactions with other people as well. Not by judging them, but by understanding how the qualities present in them can impact our journey. And also how we can help encourage and nurture others to rise beyond their undesirable attachments. It is a healthy exercise of introspection and extrospection, which we will be doing more and more of in this masterclass series, introspection and extrospection. So now let us focus on stage one, the marketplace. And I would like to start by saying that the marketplace is present and will be present throughout our soul's journey, no matter what stage we reach. Because the marketplace is the material world in which all souls of all characters have to live in for growth, because it is the world of experience. It is the world of ever-growing material experiences that bring us knowledge. And remember, the origin is light, light brings life, life brings experience, experience brings knowledge, and knowledge is light. And that is the full circle. So we come from the light, which is our soul. It gives us life. It is our life force. And while we are alive and we go out, we gain experience in this world. And when we reflect on our experiences and learn from them, they become knowledge. And knowledge is light. So our purpose of life is to gain more knowledge and to grow in light. So we may start like the ray of the sun. And you can tell the ray apart from its source because it is not as bright. But as the ray gets brighter and brighter, it reaches a point where it's so bright in its light that you cannot tell it apart from its source. And that is the 10th stage that we cross. But the marketplace is the place where the process of the growth of knowledge can be achieved. The marketplace is where we gain what I call exemplary learning. Remember this word, it's a useful one, exemplary learning. All lessons learned in the marketplace are based on example. And that is what makes it a level of exemplary learning. Now, even our great teachers and prophets who came to this world conveyed their message to us through their own life experiences. Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, had a life of great suffering all the way to the crucifixion. Now, many interpret this suffering as a message that he died for our sins. And I'm not a theological expert, and hence I cannot make a qualified opinion on this interpretation. But as a layman, I believe that rather than pursuing the line of thinking that instills guilt and fear in me, I prefer to view the suffering of Jesus as being an example he projected for us all to learn from, and a permanent example, especially bearing in mind that he came from a very high origin. He could even perform miracles, so really he did not need to suffer at all. But he did. Why? To teach us by his example, a permanent example. And that example is etched in all our minds, irrespective of our faith. There are so many other examples of great souls that have done things, accomplished things, sacrificed, that live with us all the way through today. They've left permanent examples with us because our world is about exemplary learning. And the life of Jesus was not about being a magician and performing miracles. His purpose was far greater than that, creating permanent examples. I believe if we could understand that the great beings such as Jesus or the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Sri Krishna, Buddha, Moses, Imam Ali, and most of these enlightened, very powerful souls, they set examples for us to learn from through their successes, their challenges, and their sufferings. Their lives make us recognize the importance of the examples each one of us sets for others to learn from. These enlightened beings could have completely evaded suffering, but they didn't. They chose to show us the importance of exemplary learning, emphasizing the fact that setting the best examples cannot always be easy. It takes work, it takes sacrifice, it takes everything. And in the marketplace, who sets examples for the exemplary learning? It's souls like you, me, and every human being on earth. We are the examples for exemplary learning. Our thoughts and actions set examples for others to emulate or learn from or reject, but we set the examples. Therefore, each one of us carries a huge personal responsibility to be an exemplary teacher, via our actions and words. Remember, children do not follow what we say, they follow what we do. Students follow the examples of their teachers. We follow the examples of our peers and leaders when it makes sense. In our world, examples and the events they create produce experiences, and experiences create knowledge. That's the marketplace for you, my dear friends, where our thoughts and actions are keys to our spiritual growth. Now, what are these keys? How can we learn more? How can we use the marketplace? So I asked our friendly angels, Cyrus and Luminous, for some help. I said to them, tell us, why is the first stage called the marketplace? And Cyrus replied, because the marketplace is filled with beings, animals, plants, and objects made for the use of others and more. It is a place where millions of events occur all over the world each day, he said. He says in a marketplace you will find happy people, angry people, sad people, egoistic people exerting power over others, greedy people wanting to take all for themselves, the poor and destitute ones seeking ways of just making it through the day, arrogant people and gloaters, cruel people and bullies, humble and pious people, and the list goes on. And he said the marketplace delivers an incredible diversity of experiences. His words are really, really profound. The marketplace delivers an incredible diversity of experiences. And I thought, what a lovely response. And I asked Cyrus, what are the key elements that we can work with to grow as souls in the marketplace? Explain it to us in layman's terms. And he replied, there are many. And Luminous and I will share a few examples to get you started and then let you figure out the rest, because it is your journey. Cyrus said, firstly, every event in the marketplace is based on a contrast. For every good, there is bad. For darkness, there is light, etc., etc. So recognizing and working with the contrasts between the good and the bad and the indifferent are elements you can all benefit from. Recognize the contrasts and work with the best parts of those contrasts. He says in the marketplace you face events that sharply contrast in nature. This contrast offers you examples of learning. They teach you how to make your choices as you navigate through life. Hence you learn from contrasts to improve your choices and decisions day by day. These contrasts help us improve our choices and decisions day by day. And Luminous says that's how wisdom is derived, through this process of learning through contrasts. Cyrus continued, the next element you must harness is love. He said, love offers the deepest of experiences through its myriads of dimensions. You can learn a lot from love. He said, experience it, share it, teach about it, and live it in completeness. He said, you will also experience what it feels like to feel the absence of love, which you will be exposed to living in an environment with hatred, for example, which is the opposite contrast to love. So you will also be exposed to all the feelings and experiences that come from the absence of love. Cyrus emphasized that love is one of the key elements of your spiritual growth. As you strive to ascend the 10 stages, love is one of the key elements. He said you need to be aware that at the end of your lives, you will be asked about the marketplace. You will be asked, did you love? This will be a key question, did you love? Be prepared to answer this question with yes. And Luminous said, not just yes, an astounding yes. Cyrus continued, the next experience to derive from the contrast between cruelty and kindness. He said this is another contrast between cruelty and kindness. This creates an important example for exemplary learning. There is a significant contrast between cruelty and kindness that refines your being every step. And remember, in the marketplace, to rise, you have to go through self-refinement. And Luminous said, another powerful element you must harness is happiness. Remember, Sri Krishna also said sattva is attachment with happiness. He says, experience all the different forms of happiness. And at the end of your life, you will be asked, did you gain happiness? What did you learn from it? How did you project your happiness? Were you humble or arrogant? What did you do to make others happy? Happiness is a key aspect you need to experience and get to know, Cyrus says. You need to get to know this in order to ascend higher through the 10 stages. So souls that spread happiness ascend gracefully higher and higher. So this is a key. Souls that spread happiness, ascend higher and higher. And Cyrus added one more. He said, and also souls that spread love gain immense progress on their spiritual journey up the 10 stages. So if we want to get to the 10 stages, spreading happiness, spreading love are two very key opportunities at our hands. And contrasts is another one. And Cyrus said, another major element in the marketplace that offers is to give you the opportunity to live, experience, and project the law of the eternal pool. And Cyrus said to me, you wrote about it, so explain the concept further. And I've shared this with you before, and it is a short story of two children, Ibrahim and Sarah, who are in a forest with their great teacher. But this is before humanity has been created in the large numbers that we are. And in the daytime, they learn about the laws of the forest from the teacher, and in the evening, they learn about spiritual things. And so one day, they were going through the forest, and they come to these 8 trees, tall trees, whose roots go deep down into the earth and whose trunks reach out to the skies. They are in a circle. And in the middle of the circle is a fountain, is a spring. And Sarah is thirsty, so she runs and tries to take a drink from the spring. And she's quite upset because she realizes it's not water. And she looks at the great teacher very disappointed and said, what is wrong with this water? I cannot drink it. And the teacher said, this is not water. He said, what you're looking at right now is the eternal pool. He said, take a look at it, both of you. What do you see it do? They said, it flows. He said, yes. He said, tomorrow and in times to come, this forest won't exist. It will be fully covered by people like you, human beings and nature and animals, and there will be no space. But he said, this eternal pool will flow through each one of you, bringing you resources, bringing you knowledge, bringing you everything you seek to achieve. But for this pool to flow through you, both your hands must be open. You receive with one and you give with the other. And this is why so many religions of this world have tithe, where you give a small percentage of what you earn. But you're not doing anyone any favors. It keeps you connected to the flow of the eternal pool. If you are a doctor, help somebody. That's also a way of giving. If you have no resources to share, but someone is down, give them a smile. That is also part of flow of the eternal pool. And the day your resources and your happiness and everything dries up, ask yourself, are my 2 hands open? And if one of them is closed, you have your answer. Open it, and the flow starts again. So the flow of the eternal pool is about giving, is about generosity. I'm not saying that you get 10 and you give 10. No, you receive 10, you give what you feel is appropriate and best, but do it with the best of intentions so that you remain part of the flow of the eternal pool. So giving and generosity are 2 key principles. And Cyrus said, now knowing about giving, you need to be prepared to answer questions such as, what did you do with all the resources you were given? And remember, the more fortunate and wealthier ones amongst you will bear a greater responsibility here. How did you share your resources? Was your sharing selfish or completely unselfish? Did your wealth and capabilities make you greedy? Did you ever experience contentment? He said, you will be asked, did you ever experience contentment? Did you cultivate this aspect of your nature further, contentment? For those who lived with scarcity of resources, you will be asked, what did you learn from the scarcity of resources during your life? Did it make you stop giving and sharing? Did it make you steal, or mislead, or hurt others, or resort to crime? Or did it make you jealous and envious of others better off than you? Did you draw on the powers of your faith and belief to draw abundance and resolve your difficulties? He said, these are all questions you're going to be asked. So he says, you all have much to think about on the aspects of giving and flow of resources, intelligence, knowledge, skills, and more. So this is another cornerstone this marketplace offers us. If we seize it and harness it and grow with it, the higher we rise up our spiritual journey. So he says, I'm giving you these opportunities. Don't let them slip through your fingers. So far, Cyrus and Luminous have been helping shape our thinking and showing us opportunities through which we can ascend spiritually. Tell us more, I requested them. And Luminous said, you are all human beings with animal instincts. The marketplace gives you the opportunity to recognize, shape, and contain your animal instincts so that you can rise above them. Recognize, shape, and contain your animal instincts. That's also part of self-refinement. And once you rise above them, he says, at the higher levels in the 10 stages, there is no room for animal instincts. So you have to refine yourself beyond them. And Cyrus said, I have one more significant contrast for you for learning and growth. And that is revenge and forgiveness, the contrast between forgiveness and revenge. He says, you will have to answer the question, did you learn forgiveness? Did you seek forgiveness for your errors or the hurts you may have caused? Or were you too proud to seek forgiveness? Did you gain the ability to forgive those who have hurt you? Or did you remain bitter and filled with hatred? Or did you strive to seek revenge? What did you learn about revenge? If it felt sweet, did you ever ask yourself why? Was your ego so huge that it found revenge pleasing? These are questions you will be asked. So start asking those questions today before you get there. And Luminous said, I know we are only at the first stage, the marketplace, but I must point you to the 8th stage of the orchestra, the stage of zero conflict. Because you have to address questions such as, did you recognize the roots of conflict? Did you learn to handle conflict? How were you impacted by it? Physically, mentally, emotionally? What did you do to eliminate or overcome conflict? Did you participate in spreading conflict? Or did you learn about peace and spreading peace? He says, remember that souls that spread peace ascend very rapidly in their journey. So spread peace, spread love, spread happiness. These are ways of ascension. Contrast, taking the best side of the contrast. This is how you rise from stage to stage. So conflict is a barrier to be overcome, especially if you wish to pass the 8th stage, or even get that far for that matter, Luminous says. Then Cyrus said, today I must point out one of the terrifying prospects that I see in the marketplace, particularly. It is how people are so rapidly becoming self-centered, which is a real sickness in my opinion. It's all about me, 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 shrouded by clouds of selfishness, shrouded by ego and thirst for control, which is the characteristic of Rajas. Relationships and marriages and friendships today are disintegrating all over the world because of this. And ego and self-center are barriers to spiritual progress. Therefore, use your time in the marketplace to transcend them. And be the perfect examples for others to follow, for it will bring a great deal of peace and happiness today and in generations to follow. So absence of conflict is another example. And he said, be exemplary on this one in the most positive sense. Lumina said that there are so many elements of opportunity in the marketplace, and you all need to reflect and cultivate the elements that come to mind. We have given you some spoon feeding to get you started. I laughed and said, my dear Luminous, one humble request. Which of the elements do you consider amongst the absolutely critical ones? And Luminous smiled and replied, we've already given you some of the critical ones. But here is one, a last one I'll share with you, a major one. He says it is the recognition in each one of you that you have a higher dimension, which is the soul. The soul that is well above the marketplace in its nature and stature. The soul that belongs to the origin, the creator, the source. This soul needs to be nurtured, just like the body and mind need nurturing. It needs to be consciously present in your thoughts every moment. You may find that difficult because you have largely ignored this really important dimension of yourselves. Why have you done this? Because it is unseen, invisible, and it is so humble that it does not demand your attention. You give your attention to what screams the loudest in the marketplace. And there's plenty in that marketplace to keep you busy that way. Your soul doesn't do that. It reaches out to you softly, gently. He said, I would say you need to learn about and evolve your spiritual being with the knowledge that you have a soul that needs nurturing and growth. And he said, you can do this by drawing upon the guidance of the scriptures and the teachings of enlightened ones. There's so much precious knowledge and guidance available to you. This will open faculties of understanding within you that will bring you closer and closer to your Creator. It will bring you humility, the utmost humility that comes from submission to the source of your soul, your higher self. So meditate regularly, for meditation opens doors to light. Pray regularly, for prayer reminds you of the soul and the Creator. Prayer invokes a submission in you that brings you closer to the light. Prayer invokes thoughts that draw upon your deeper ethics. It creates a wonderful balance in your crazy, whirling material lives. So pray. And he said, remember, closeness to the light will bring you strength, and you will become a beacon of light, an exemplary beacon that shares hope and light. Become that. And in the marketplace, there is so much darkness today. Become the beacons of light. So I offered deepest gratitude to Luminous and then looked at Cyrus, hoping to get one more precious gem from him. And he smiled and said, all right. Here is one from me that is amongst the most critical elements, probably the one that is on top of my list. And I said, what is that? He said, it is about the power of thought. He said, the marketplace, he says, your world has all types of people and creation, living in nature, drawing upon its resources, and driving endless events every moment. It is a place where your power of thought drives everything. And he said, like you mentioned earlier, the sum total of each person's thoughts makes up his or her consciousness. The marketplace is the home of the collective consciousness of all beings, which is what you call the mass consciousness. And he says, each one of you is defined by the quality of your thoughts. And hence the quality of the marketplace is governed by the quality of its mass consciousness. Therefore, learn as much as you can about power of thought and how best you can cultivate it. And use it to become the best of examples in the marketplace. Learn about the use and misuse of power of thought. Learn to connect with and draw upon the infinite intelligence that resides within you and with you. Make the power of thought and its correct use and harnessing the abilities that come from it one of your top priorities in this marketplace. Why do I say that to you, he says? Because your thoughts have vibrations. Positive thoughts have higher vibrations. Negative thoughts have 0 to very low vibrations. Prayer and meditation and your actions of love and giving and kindness raise the vibrations of everything sharply. So each one of you contributes to the vibration level of your world or your mass consciousness. And your goal as individuals and a collective humanity is to raise and maintain the highest level of vibration in your world, the marketplace. The higher the vibration of your world, the more of you souls will rise up the 10 stages. So that's a really important point. And those of you with the highest vibrations will complete your journey at the 10th stage and beyond the door of light. This must be your purpose and goal, each one of you, Cyrus says. And he said, and this era of human civilization offers the best opportunities for such growth and achievement. He says you have instantaneous communication with all humanity today, which today is being sorely abused to spread fear and negativity and a mass consciousness of very low vibrations. But you can change that, each one of you. Refine your thoughts, maximize your vibration level, and then spread it via these instant communication platforms to help provide the positive environment for elevation of all the souls of your fellow beings. I smiled and thanked Cyrus profusely for all the precious gems Luminous and he had offered to us all about how to harness the opportunities of the marketplace. In this conversation, they have given us golden keys, which if we work with, we can really gain the momentum we wish in our spiritual journey. So Luminous laughed and said, you owe us lots and lots of Tim Hortons donuts, my friend, for this. I replied, I know, your favorite one, the chocolate dip ones. Okay, guys, Cyrus says, too much sugar is not good for all of you. Of course, Luminous and I can have as much as we wish, no problem. We can do whatever we want. We are angels. But he says, if you want to enjoy more sugar, you all have to become angels first. Now that's more motivation for you, isn't there? So my dear friends, I'd like to conclude stage 1 today and open the door to stages 2 and beyond with this very brief but powerful conversation. It is a conversation of the soul, Maya. She's having a conversation with her creator, the origin, after completing a lifetime in the marketplace. So she says to the origin, before I took birth in the material world, we agreed that during my lifetime, I would be blessed with something I had always prayed for, which was 100% quality time with you. You said you would give me our time together when I was in the material physical form. So I took birth and eagerly awaited my time with you. But not long after my birth, barely 8 months, I could not see nor communicate with you anymore. That is true, the origin replied, because you never thought of me or even believed deep down that I even existed at all. Against my advice, as you grew up, you surrounded yourself with cynical people and became cynical about everything. I had warned you about being cynical, for cynicism denies the infinite possibilities that this world can offer. Why bother taking birth at all in a world whose possibilities you reject? I told you that. He said, I was with you, Maya, every moment of your life. We had a direct connection every moment, a connection which you didn't recognize nor try to use. I reached out to you, even tried to make you remember me through events that revealed my presence to you in subtle form. For example, you love roses, and I showed you this yellow rose bud on a rose bush in your garden with the finest fragrance. You looked at this yellow bud and were confident it would open into a beautiful yellow flower. And when it opened, you were taken aback because it unfolded into a reddish-orange rose and not a yellow rose. You pondered repeatedly how you could have been so wrong. And your friend Amy told you that everything unfolds by the will of the origin. He says, that was me speaking with you. That was me showing you the same lesson that I showed you in a previous life, but you didn't get it again. I showed you that rose again, but you didn't get it. The origin said to Maya, I spoke to you through your inner voice, but you drowned everything I was saying because you did not like my messages of caution. I was trying to save you from making the same mistakes again, but you shut me down. I gave you a lovely son, Kasim, who was born disabled. I gave you the opportunity to take care of him and serve him, for he is a soul most dearest to me, an enlightened being. But you were so distraught by his disability and how it restricted your freedom that you never got a chance to realize how blessed you were to be his mother and nurturer. He said, I smiled at you through him. My light shone through his eyes, but all you saw was a severely disabled child you were cursed with, and hence you missed all his radiance, my radiance. He said, do you remember Martha, the lady who came to clean your house and help you with Kasim? She uttered such deep words of wisdom to you. He said, that was me speaking to you. Instead of taking heed, you dismissed her because she was not as educated as you. And you thought she was wasting your time and money by being chatty. You even inconsiderately left huge messes after yourself for her to clean. She was me, present before you, like Kasim, and you did not recognize us. He says, remember your dog Max, how much love he showered on you unconditionally. That was you, me, showing you my love. But all you saw was your pet dog who loved you, and you were not always kind to him, but he loved you regardless. And then there was a musician you loved, whose music touched your soul. That was my music. All the gardens you loved, the trees, the flowers, the birds, the deep blue skies, the rivers and oceans, that was all me. Would you like me to keep going on? The origin says. He says, I was with you 24/7 throughout your life in the material world. So I kept my side of the promise. Maya was silent because remember, the journey of the soul is a nurturing one, not a punishment one. It's one of recognition. Maya was silent. She had missed out on the most amazing opportunity any soul could have wished for. Direct connection 24/7 with her origin. She replied softly, you were everywhere, in everything. My whole life's journey in this world was about being with you. I can see now, it was always you. My dear friends, remember Maya's words about her creator. It was always you. It was always you. We are all blessed with this wonderful opportunity of life in this world. Let us grow in our vision and most of all recognize and realize our direct connection with the origin, our creator. Now today's class and its messages are very important because they open doors to rising beyond whatever level each one of us is at. So with what Cyrus and Luminous brought out, those powerful points, with the conversation between Maya and the origin, remember, Maya is an example to us. We should be thinking about the questions. We should be thinking about the answers because there is gold there for us to seize and grow with. So I'd like to conclude by thanking you all for being here today. I'd like to thank you for bringing your positive energy and light to this event. I hope you're taking with you food for thought to create action plans of how each one of us is going to rise as a soul and reach that 10th stage. My earnest prayer to the Creator is that all of you make it to the 10th stage and cross that door. This is my sincere prayer for you all. So stay blessed, and we look forward to seeing you again very shortly. Take care, keep smiling from the soul, and be happy and know that you have some golden keys to walk away with in this marketplace, and you start using them from this moment on. Thank you.